was in a slide.
We had a few people that had their nursing uniforms, and their mothers, that they were so happy that their daughters graduated as a nurse, had it made into a quilt for them.
Yeah, there was a
Nice
lot
plug.
of neat quilts.
Yeah. Any other questions from council? Okay. I have something to draw your attention to, Nancy and Teresa, and that is that according to our guidelines, the municipality will provide a maximum of 75% funding. And I notice you have no other sources of revenue listed in your application. So just so you know, if you were successful, the maximum we could consider granting you would be $3,000, which would be 75% of your budget. I think that's something that, of course, it's up to council, or we could change that, but that's currently our guidelines.
Okay, thank you.
And you're not the only applicant that's asking for 100%, but I thought I'd get that out there for the rest of them to be aware of. Okay. Mayor Peckford, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you, Deputy Mayor, for chairing until I can get myself situated. I did just want to ask, it certainly sounds like the quilters have a lot of in-kind contributions that weren't necessarily fully quantified in their application. So I think as we reflect on that policy, it might be good for the quilters to provide an approximate value of all of the in-kind services or in-kind contributions, because I think that can help inform how we assess what we can contribute as a municipality. So maybe that's something that quilters can do, because it certainly sounds like they get a lot of assistance in terms of room, in terms of discounted photography, in terms of other donations that I think are relevant to our considerations.
That kind of information would certainly lower the percentage that you're looking from the municipality. Councillor Starkey.
Yeah, okay. I think through you, Deputy Mayor, the point I was going to make is just that the in-kind need to be documented as if you had to pay for those items yourself, because that will increase the overall amount that you're looking for there, and then therefore the 75% would kick in at a higher value as well. So that's relevant to this, and I think we'll just have to be mindful of that's done consistently across the applications. But thank you very much for the presentation and the additional information that you provided.
Great, thank you. And so would you like us to do that and submit it to you within the next week or two?
Absolutely.
Council?
If you can do that, that'd be helpful. Thank you.
Okay. Very well. Thank you.
Yeah.
Certainly within the week, ideally. Thank you.
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Am I passing the chair over to you, Mayor Peckford? Are you situated, or would you like me to keep going?
Not quite. I'm listening intently,
okay.
But if you don't mind taking the next couple, I'll be ready shortly.
Right. Okay. Let me know. Send me a text. Yeah. Well, before we move on, Nancy and Teresa, I think the stories are just as valuable as the documentation, personally, because they're personal histories, and I look forward to the book I understand that you're working on with the North Grenville Historical Society. Is that true? Do you know when that's going to be completed, or?
We were hoping to have it done for Christmas so people could buy it as a Christmas present. I think it might be shortly after Christmas, but it's, I would say we're closer to like 80%. We have it pretty well already, so it's just a matter of the Historical Society is meeting at the end of the month, and then they are going to put out the initial cost for the printing, because we don't have any money for that unless we did it personally, and then we will get it distributed. So we would know by the 1st of December what's really happening there. We're ready to go to print it.
Great. Looking forward to it. Okay, moving on. Next, we're going to hear from Jennifer Gao about the Friday Drawing Circle. Jennifer?
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor and Deputy Mayor and councillors, for allowing me to speak to you this evening. So, I'm sorry. I'm happy to talk to you about an idea about having a drawing circle. The idea is to have an opportunity for people to get together in a relaxed environment to draw mainly from life, in fact, exclusively from life, which is good practice. This idea, and you can, I believe, that will promote a healthy lifestyle and a creative lifestyle within North Grenville. Next slide, please. It is an extension of something that already exists, Art of the Library. That's on Saturday mornings for an hour and a half. The difference between this idea and that program is that this is a practice session. There's no instruction. It's an open studio for artists at all levels, from beginning to advanced, and anyone from the ages of 14 and up who wants to draw is welcome. Our focus naturally is, because we're drawing from life, it's on representational skills. So as you see there, it's through observation and practice. And these kinds of skills are really foundational to do anything else if someone wishes to carry on, if they're, for example, a teenager, want to go on to art school. But it's equally important for people or seniors or adults who are just looking for a hobby or a way to relax. There's research that's been done that does show that a practice of drawing or painting or just any kind of methodical artistic practice does lower the stress levels and can be a real asset to one's mental and physical health. The location proposed is the St. John's United Church, the basement of that, and it's proposed to have it on Friday evenings from 5 to 8 or 7:30. And that's to allow people that work or students to be able to join us. We have tried a pilot, you may be aware of that. We've in the second Friday of that pilot, I can't say that we've had an astounding turnout, but then it is just the beginning, and we wanted to know just how much interest there might be. Next slide, please. I did mention to you that before that art has been shown in the literature to have a positive effect on mental and emotional well-being, and I'll let you read those for yourself. But what I think of in my own personal experience is also not only improved health, but it gives me or gave me a connection to a community. And for many years, probably 10 years, I went to a Friday morning drawing circle in Brockville associated with St. Lawrence College. It doesn't exist. And in fact, there was an afternoon one too anymore. But what the benefit was is that you got to know people and created a very much a social environment and a support environment for people in various stages of their lives and going through various things, from death of a loved one to health issues, etc. And that was invaluable. And as I mentioned before, it may help a young person build a portfolio for admission to an art college, or someone like myself who's retired. It's been rekindling a hobby that I had before retirement, but I hadn't had time to use it. I want to acknowledge also, and I did mention that there have been and are other art groups around. Ottawa does have several, but they're far away. There's an art group in Carleton Place that meets weekly to draw. And there's what has been one for a long time in Burritts Rapids. So I do acknowledge that. The one in Burritts Rapids, however, doesn't operate in the winter months like January and February. And it's only once a month. And its draw is not necessarily North Grenville. In fact, the last time I've been there, the last several times I was there was no one from North Grenville. It seems to have looked beyond our borders, more to the Ottawa side. But I think with the growth in North Grenville, that there may be a time, it may be coming a time for an art group such as this. I think secondarily, it may bring people to the downtown area, but I wouldn't say that's the primary reason for doing this. And of course, it's just promotes North Grenville as a healthy and artistic community. Next slide, please. As far as the financial support, yes, I will acknowledge that this is a hefty request. It's mainly for rent, the rental costs of the hall at the church, and model fees. Most of the models do not come from the area, though we would train them, and they generally come from Ottawa or around in that area. And just other miscellaneous costs. One that I did not include here as specify is liability insurance that would go along with renting that facility. Participants would supply their own drawing materials and help with setting up the lighting and still life when we do still life and tearing it down. That's the bulk of the financial support. And I think that pretty much concludes the formal part of this presentation. Thank you very much for listening. Do you have any questions?
Thank you, Jennifer. Same comment as the last project. If you can quantify any in-kind donations that you have, then that would be helpful to council when we come time to assess the project. I'll open it up to questions from council. Councillor Strahan.
Thank you, through you, Deputy Mayor. I appreciate the presentation, Jennifer, and I think it's great to see all sorts of different arts initiatives coming about in different ways in our community for different groups. I have two questions related to how sort of the financial side of things for your request. I'll say both of them and I'll let you answer them. The first is, why do you feel it is important to offer these types of sessions for free? Because you are seeking 100% funding, and why you feel that's important. And the second part is that if not free, or because it is free, have you considered session fees, even a modest amount, in order to offset some of the costs?
Yes, I have considered that. I'm not ruling it out at all. I mean, I'll admit I was going through the exception, like taking away any excuses for someone not to attend. But certainly it would be not unreasonable to have someone to make a contribution.
I find, I guess I just, if I can sort of a bit of an editorial comment, I find a lot of there's opportunity that if you offer up the option for donations as well, that you may be surprised by what you can gather from that as well, but it's not a great way to plan out a budget. So no, it's another challenge. Okay, thank you very much.
Sure.
Sorry, can I just help Jennifer answer that question? Hi, Jane Couch.
Hi, Jane.
One of the other reasons that we've asked for so much in the budget is because we don't have models out of the North Grenville area. We have to train them. So first off, we can't ask people to pay even a moderate fee if we're still training the models, because then they're not professional. And for us to bring in models from Ottawa, which is what the plan is to do for most of the sessions that we want to run, we have to be able to commit the money before we ask the model to come. So Jennifer and I can't fund the project ourselves. So that's why we have to make sure that we have the money up front before we ask a model to come all the way down here.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Jane. Councillor O'Sullivan.
Thank you, Jennifer and Jane. I think this is a great idea. My question initially was the same as Councillor Strackeryan's, is why not charge a fee for the participants? And as you've mentioned, you know, they're either getting initially trained professional models that are coming from Ottawa, and then eventually trained models that would be from North Grenville. So I think you also mentioned the word commitment, and I think if people have paid to come to take a course that is 8, 10, 12 weeks in length, they're more likely to stay committed to that course and to continue to come back and not skip nights, which sometimes may happen if, something else comes up and they say, oh, well, I'll skip that art class tonight because I didn't pay for it anyway. So I think that you'll get serious committed participants if there's a fee involved. And that's, I don't have any strong data for that other than personally. So I think it might be something to consider.
I hear you. Thank you.
Any other questions for Jennifer? Thanks, Jennifer. I concur with the council colleagues that it's nice to see all these different arts programs come into the community, and certainly I look forward to seeing more as time goes on. Thank you for the presentation.
Thank you.
Okay. Next up is Lisa. You've got two projects, Lisa. The first one we're going to look at is the Kemptville Street Piano Concerts on Campus.
Sounds good.
Take it away.
Well, hi folks. Thanks for letting me present. I'm excited to bring this to the table again. Concerts on Campus is a new project, and just to let you know right out of the gate, this is a project that is $10,849, give or take a few, and I'm asking for $2,180 out of that. So specifically, this is to pay for one concert that's a pilot concert. If the pilot breaks even and my costs are covered, I will move forward to booking 2 different concert series that will take place from fall 2024 to spring 2025. So this presentation is about the concert series, but the ask is about the specific pilot. Next slide, please. So it's specifically concerts in Parish Hall, our lovely underused amphitheater on Kemptville campus. It's going to have ticketed liquor. It's going to have professional touring acts, and it will take place on Fridays once a month from September to May. Next slide, please. So the first series that I want to program is going to be for a Francophone audience. And the second series is going to showcase Canadians who are doing performances of their own contemporary original music. The concerts are for both local and out-of-town music lovers, and it's going to be presented by the Kemptville Street Piano, which is soon to be incorporated, which will allow this series and the summer series to be eligible for the different kinds of grants that I've been able to apply for. So I'm looking forward to that. And this is a picture of Ron Sexsmith. He's one of my favorites, who is a contender for the Contemporary Original Music Series. And so is Susie Ungerleider from Oh Susanna and a few others. Next slide, please. So a bit about the theater. 216-seat auditoriums have their benefits and their disadvantages. They can provide an intimate performance, which people love to experience, but they have to sell out in order to break even. But because I'm going to have nonprofit status, it allows the series to be subsidized, and any funds that are made above the costs will always be reinvested into the series. It is possible that they will become concerts that can pay for themselves, but it's also probable that they're always going to need core funding. However, that core funding might be eligible to come from different sources, not just the municipality. Before committing to setting up the larger concert series, I definitely need to test the waters with a pilot concert. If we sell 100 seats, which is half of the seats, then that's enough for me to go forward to start booking the other concerts in the larger series. With quality, affordable concerts taking place in a quaint, intimate setting, only 30 minutes from Ottawa, the concerts may eventually attract enough patrons to pay for themselves. Next slide, please. So this is the perfect kind of concert series to partner with local businesses. Let's make Friday night date night. So you may recognize some of these interiors. We've got a picture of salamanders and the hide here. I haven't approached them yet, but I will if this takes off. Concerts on Campus counts the municipality of North Grenville and Kemptville campus as partners, while all goods, services, and rentals needed for the series will be sourced locally whenever possible. Next slide, please. Our community impact includes French programming, finally some French programming, affordable and accessible entertainment close to home for locals, and it's also a specific type of entertainment that has not really been provided before. Quality arts programming is a cultural service North Grenville needs more of. Support for the arts makes North Grenville an attractive place for artists and their fans alike to visit and to live in. Concerts on Campus received a development fund grant. Now, I received that because the project is aligned with the municipality's strategic goals, advancing community cohesion and enjoyment and quality of life in our community. So by funding the concerts on campus, the municipality will emphasize meaningful public engagement and encourage the coordinated delivery of arts and cultural services by supporting local arts programs and events. The municipality will increase community cohesion through signature events and festivals in partnership with community groups and animate underutilized community assets. Next slide, please. Economic impact. I used the Dream tool for this. Assuming that collaboration will take place with local restaurants and businesses. For the pilot concert on its own, we can estimate that 100 tickets would sell for $45 each. 20 couples would have dinner and drinks at $80 per couple. 20 non-resident couples spend $15 on gas, and 30 local couples spend $5. So that comes into around $6,550 for visitor spending for the pilot concert. If the concert sells out, ticket sales alone would total $9,000. So as word gets around about these concerts, it really is possible that not only will they pay for themselves, but they'll also bring in a fair amount of business for the municipality. Next slide, please. Organizational effectiveness. So just to say that I'm pretty good at throwing concerts in the municipality. After 2 successful summers with the Kemptville Street Piano Concert Series, providing music from fall to spring with Concert on Campus will fill a gap in North Grenville's arts ecosystem. As a member of both Spark and the Community Presenters Network, the Street Piano has access to musicians touring rural Ontario and opportunities to block book, which lowers artist fees. And when I say Kemptville Street Piano, I mean the name of the business that will be hosting both the Concert on Campus and the summer series. As a private music teacher at local French schools, I have access to North Grenville's Francophone community. There are so many families here that are looking for a chance to have some cultural engagement en français. I used to own a record label, so I've been producing concerts and working with musicians for over 20 years. And I recently worked as a volunteer coordinator for ITM events. And I have recently thrown a really big concert, which was a real learning curve for me. And I feel like I am ready to host concerts on campus. So I'm definitely going to need a fair amount of volunteers to make this successful. So I'm looking forward to recruiting up to 15 front of house and stagehand volunteers for the series. And I'll be approaching the Kemptville Youth Music Theater Company and the North Grenville Theater Company in order to receive advice and discuss sharing resources such as lighting. It would be nice if we could all share some lighting resources. Next slide, please. Okay, I know this is a lot of writing and it's hard to read, but basically this really does run down everything that I have to pay for in order to host a concert of this size. Some of this stuff is things that you wouldn't really think about unless you were right in the middle of it, but we have things like copyright fees, sound engineers, stagehands, bar staff, insurance, etc., etc. Something that I am really enjoying about the campus is how easy it is to work with catered affairs. So to be able to sell liquor at the event, catered affairs will do it for me without me having to do a thing. They'll handle the liquor license and everything. If they don't make $600, I have to make up the rest. So I've included around $250 or $200 in my budget just in case, but it's possible they will sell that much. Anyway, I have a column here for how much these are costing in dollars. I have a column for how much it costs as in-kind donations. And then the total cost of the project is the third column. So you can see that for cash, I need $8,179 to pay for it. I will be getting 2,700 roughly in-kind donations, and that's not including volunteers. The work that the front of house staff and everybody would do for volunteer. So total cost, not including volunteer work, is 10,850. Next slide, please. And that's described a little better in this one. So I have already received 1,500 from the development fund. I'm asking for 2,180. I can't get federal government money yet, but I hope to once I become incorporated as a nonprofit. In kind, 2,670. Earned revenues, here we go. I'm assuming that I can sell half of the tickets at $45 a ticket, but I haven't done an extensive survey of what people in the area are willing to pay. So it's possible it could go down to 35 or it could go up to 50. So that's research that I'm still going to do. And there we go. Next slide, please. And that's it for our Concerts on Campus presentation. Let me know if you've got any questions.
Thank you, Lisa. I'm going to jump in here and try and unpack your application. So from what I understand is that you're planning a pilot.
Yes.
And that budget that you showed, was that strictly for the pilot or the entire series?
That's just for the pilot. Each concert is going to cost roughly around $10,000.
Right. Okay. And part of your confirmed funding was the $1,500 North Grenville Arts Development Grant.
That's right.
So with your current ask from the community fund of what, 2,180 approximately,
yep.
And the 1,500, that, from my understanding, that's less than 75% funding in total from the municipality.
Yeah.
But one thing I'm unclear on, and I'm gonna have to get advice on this, is whether you can draw from both funds for the same project.
Right.
So I will have to talk to staff and consult with council about that. Councillor Starkey.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I was actually going to ask the same question. I'm wondering with the staff that we have here on the line, if they're able to make that clarification for us. Do either of the funds preclude a request for the other fund once one has been approved? I don't know who to direct this to necessarily, but I'm wondering if that's something that we can answer while we're here. That's a question for staff.
Yeah, it might be Laura Valcor, who's not with us right now, or Mark Guy.
Nobody here is able to answer that. Okay, I think it's an important question, Lisa. I appreciate your presentation. That you know, to expand the arts and concert series and so on. I think it's an important piece to this that we need to address because we haven't had multiple fund options previously.
Yeah.
So we do need to clarify and see what the wording is in either one of those funds. In addition to that, I have another question related to what you're presenting here for the pilot. You mentioned the first series being a Francophone series. Would your pilot also be a Francophone artist?
No, because my access through the CPN, the Canadian Presenters, or the Community Presenters Network right now is exclusively English speaking. So, or mostly English speaking. So I'm going to go with one of those artists who I can get for a lower rate at this time. Part of it too is because I don't have a ton of time to book it. So I was planning to have possible concert dates in the spring. March 22nd, April 19th, and April 26th are possible dates. But if it proves to be successful, then I'm going to be working with Carolyn, who used to be a member of the Arts and Culture Committee. She's actually a Francophone concert presenter. So I think that between the two of us, we'll definitely be able to figure out appropriate programming for the French side. So at this time, no, but I do have enough time to book some French acts for the Kempville Street Piano, which I'm planning to do, and then we'll see from there. And just to let you know, I did apply for $3,000 for the development fund, and I know you guys had to split the grants because you had so many great applications, but I really can't take a risk on the pilot without getting the additional funds that I said. So if I don't get the 2,180, I won't be able to do the concerts on campus this year.
Understood. Okay, thank you, Lisa.
Yeah.
Great, thanks, Lisa. I know you've got another presentation, so we're going to slide you right into that one unless there's any other questions from council on this project. Seeing none, let's take it away to the next one.
Hello.
Okay.
Okay. Well, I'm not street piano, but sure.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
I'm
I'm
looking.
sorry. I'm sorry, Darren. Daryl, sorry. Lisa's up next. She's got two
Okay, sorry.
proposals. Yeah, and we'll probably take a break after Lisa's next presentation, so you'll have plenty of time to prepare.
Okay, so this is another one where I have more than one option as far as funding goes. So for my Kempville Street Piano Concert Series, I have two asks, and it's dependent on whether I get a partnership grant from Heritage Canada. If I get that grant, with a project total of $31,800, I'd be asking the municipality for $10,000. But if I don't get the partnership grant, I'm going to scale down the series and run it the way I did last year. And that budget is available in my budget report. And that project will be $19,594, including covering library wages. So the ask for that one would be $15,700, and that would include paying library wages. But if the library is somehow able to pay for its own, the total of the project for this summer would be $17,394. And then with an ask of $13,500. So let me just try that one more time with you guys. So if I get the partnership grant from Heritage Canada, total project cost is $31,798 with an ask of $10,000. If I don't get the partnership grant, let's assume the library is going to pay for themselves, in which case the project is going to cost $17,395 with an ask of $13,500. Okay, here we go. Let's go to the next slide. So the Kempville Street Piano Concert Series is the installation and the maintenance of a street piano at the North Grenville Public Library Terrace. And next summer, it's going to be a 14-date outdoor, free to the public concert series, running from the first Saturday in June till the last Saturday in August. It's a nonprofit partnership between me, Lisa Paszynski, the municipality of North Grenville, the North Grenville Public Library, and a number of local businesses and organizations. Our goal is to meet our population's desire for cultural programming in an outdoor setting by providing free, all ages friendly activities in accessible locations for residents to enjoy. Next slide, please. The Street Piano goes live with a concert on June 1st, 2024. From that date forward, pedestrians will find the piano ready to play. In September, the piano will move to its indoor location at the Municipal Center, where it can still be played. Concerts will take place every Saturday at the library, leaving the street piano free for community use between concerts. And if you're wondering why the piano's not at the Municipal Center now, it's because it is unplayable. It's on its way out, and I am hoping to talk to staff about getting a next year's street piano into the Municipal Center where it could be painted. More on that later. Next slide, please. How does this contribute to community development? Well, 95% of North Grenville residents go outside North Grenville for arts and culture. Kemptville is growing and family need art community programming now. Street pianos become concert venues and draw foot traffic. The street piano has become a music hub for musicians and audiences. And also, touring is changing for musicians. Musicians want close, safe performance opportunities, and we can provide that. Locals can open for out-of-town acts, which will benefit both acts by expanding fan bases. According to the Dream Tool, bringing 360 visitors to Kemptville for street piano concerts next summer may average over 49,000 in visitor spending, and you can see my attached Dream reports. Next slide, please. Last year, we created a community music hub, reached 47,000 people over social media, had 15 articles about the series published, managed to present music over 13 Saturdays with half the funding I received in 2022, phew, and we're hoping to do Francophone and children's programming in 2024. Next slide, please. We averaged 40 audience members per concert with 75% seniors and 25% mixed ages. And here's a picture of the Kemptville Male Choir performing. That was definitely senior heavy because most of the performers lived in North Grenville last year. Most members of the audience came from North Grenville. In 2023, we welcomed Alana Sterling back as one of our only out-of-town musicians. Over 500 people attended street piano concerts last summer. With more funding in 2024, we can invite better known artists like Alana and expect their fans to follow. So we would have a lot more people attending the concerts in that case. Next slide, please. Whoops, next one. Next, yeah, there we go. Partnerships and the future. So with extended operating hours on Saturdays, access to library washrooms and air conditioning made a world of difference for the attendees, especially those with special needs. Offering programming with partners like the library and the Kemptville Folk Club is the way of the future for the street piano. And on the right, you can see a picture of our ukulele teaching street piano presentation by Arthur McGregor. And that one was a program that was in partnership with the library, who now own ukuleles. So that was a very fun concert. Next steps include joining or becoming an incorporated nonprofit and building more community partnerships. And you can see here in this other picture that we have some seniors that are visiting. These seniors came from seniors residences from, is it Sunnybrook? I think so. Anyway, next slide, please. Community partners and vendors. Here's our list. The picture on the right is Suzanne Larner, who does my marketing, and Preston Gilmer, our famous local piano tuner. And then on the left is a picture of an artist who came from, where was it? From Puerto Rico? No, shoot. Anyway, the artist that's performing on the left is Claude's son-in-law, Claude from the greenhouse, and he happened to be in the area. Somebody canceled last minute and he filled in, and he was one of the best concerts of the entire season. So that's something that's a lot of fun about the street piano shows, is there is some flexibility, and I'm always going to keep that in the programming so that we can pick up on people like Josue. Next slide, please. So volunteers, between the Kempville Folk Club, hosting open mics, help from local teens with setup and teardown, overtime by street piano partners, graphic design, and everything else by me, volunteer hours totaled over 250, which is over 6,000 in volunteer labor. It was pretty great. List of strategic alignment, a lot of it is the same as what it was for the community concerts, so for the concerts on campus, so I won't bother reading them. Next slide, please. And here's the breakdown again. So because of in-kind contributions of 5,000, I can ask Heritage Canada for 15,000, which is excellent, which would help me cover the cost of the $31,816 for the project next summer. And then, let's see, 10,000 from you guys is in there too, in this one. Next slide, please. Yeah, there we go. Now, if you'd like to go over the budget again, let me know. I can get into more details.
Thanks, Lisa. Very detailed proposal, but I'm getting hung up on one question. Is there seems to be two proposals there. Basically, you're saying if I get the funding, then it's this amount. If I don't get the funding, it's another amount. And I can appreciate, having applied for projects that had multi-funders myself in the past, that sometimes the timing is not that beneficial. So yeah. I know with certain upper levels of government, they ask for confirmed funding versus unconfirmed funding. It's going to be difficult for us to parse this, and I wondered if you could land on one scenario versus another, which is the most likely scenario. Getting the
so the folks at Canadian Heritage invited me to apply for the grant. It's a grant you can only apply for if they invite you to do it, and they normally give you the money if they invite you. So I think the $10,000 is very likely, which is scenario one, having $31,000, which I really hope happens. But if they don't, unfortunately, I can't figure out how to do the series for less than the 13. Last year I tried to do it for under that, and not only did I not make any money over the summer, but I had to pay money out of pocket. So I'm still paying out of pocket. I owe the library over $2,000, and I owe the folk club. So that's happening soon. So I can't do that again next summer. But I should know, hopefully by December, whether I'm getting the grant from Heritage Canada or not. So I'm not sure when you guys are having to finalize your decisions, but I'll definitely keep you updated.
I just don't know if we have the mechanism to consider increasing the grant once we have approved a grant. And again, it's up to council to deliberate and come to some decision. But I appreciate the timing. It may not be ideal, but you may be stuck with us having to entertain scenario one versus scenario two.
Yeah, I get that.
Okay.
Doreen, have you got a question?
Okay. Thanks, Lisa, and for all the work and effort you've put into this. It's a great opportunity for local people to enjoy the piano concerts or the general music concerts that are put on. I was a little confused in the beginning with the two different scenarios, and you talked about the total project cost at one point being 31,008 something.
That's right.
But, and then a different number in the other scenario, but it seemed like your grant request was the same for no matter what, and still at 13,500. Either I missed something or you were asking for the same amount from us regardless.
So scenario one was if I did get the partnership grant with Heritage Canada. So that was the project total of 31K and an ask of $10,000. And then scenario two was no partnership grant. And let's assume the library covers their own wages this year, just to be nice. So that means the project cost would be 17,400 and my ask would be 13,500.
Okay, because on the document that I'm seeing that we received, it says total grant request 13,500, total project cost 31,816 and 36 cents. So the other two, the 17,000 and the 10,000, neither of those were here for us to consider. So it's it's a little confusing as to exactly what your ask is.
Yeah, I hear you. I did write in the application to refer to the budget sheet that I included. But I don't know if that made things clearer or if it made it worse. Sorry, it's true. It's two different budgets that I have for the same project. That's the problem. Yeah. But it's either asking for 10,000 or asking for 13,500. And hopefully it's me asking for 10,000 because that means I got the partnership grant.
Okay. And so when having these concerts moved to Saturday as opposed to Sunday, which meant it didn't conflict with the farmers market. And I think that was probably a good idea. Was there a difference in the number of people that came average every Saturday to each concert? Was it improved by switching to Saturday?
So, it was there was definitely a change in how many people from out of town came, but I think that was more because we had less out of town musicians. I think roughly it came into about the same for local residents who came to the concerts. And in general, I did see a lot more seniors out because they had access to the library. They had access to air conditioning and a bathroom, so it really improved the quality of their experience.
Okay, thanks. And what did the additional staff, why did you need additional staff at the library because the concert series was on versus the library wasn't open on Sunday afternoons previously, but it is open on Saturday afternoon. So why did they need to have extra staff?
Normally they closed at 2, and for the series they stayed open until 4.
I see. Okay, thank you.
Kristen?
Okay, yeah. Councillor Strathern.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Thank you, Lisa. I appreciate the presentation. I had some of the same questions that Councillor O'Sullivan raised. I think the breakdown of the budget is quite confusing. It doesn't show up, I think, as complete as what you had intended it to. So I think we need to go back and do a little bit more digging on some of that information for ourselves to clarify. So, but that was the point that Councillor Sullivan made as well. So if the library closes at 2, was noon till 2 considered for your concert series so that you'd be open during the library hours? Is there a particular motivation behind the 2 to 4 time slot? Just looking at perhaps some of the cost savings that could be gained by having it when the library is opened.
It conflicted with library programming. So from 2 to 4, it was wide open, right? Because it was new hours for them. So they didn't have anything happening on Saturdays between 2 and 4. So that was one big reason. Another one was because noon to 2 is nap time. Anyway, in my experience at daycares, that's nap time. And then I always had a window of opportunity at the daycares from 2 to 4 when people woke up. And I found it was a similar experience for seniors, it seems. So 2 to 4 was an ideal time for sort of the two edges of the audience I was trying to attract. At 4 o'clock, after 4, you can go for a drink and then you go for dinner, and it was pretty good. Or you go home and you have your dinner, right? But if I bumped it later, then that interfered with that. And if I bumped it earlier, it would have been it would have been nap time and lunch that I would have been competing with.
Okay, thank you.
Nap time is precious.
my kids very rarely napped, so I don't even know what you're saying.
Oh.
For the
I
demographic.
appreciate the rationale. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. If there's no other questions, thank you, Lisa. Best of luck to everybody who's presented so far. We've got 4 more to get through, but we're going to take a 5 to 10 minute break. So it's 8:10 right now. I'll have everyone come back at 8:15, if that's all right. And okay, so we're no longer recording, but the next up will be Jane Couch and her presentation. Okay.
Great, thank you.
See everybody in 5 minutes.
Wait. All right, I'm just going to see who's around.
Yeah,
I
I'm
see-
here.
All right,
Take it over.
8:15. We'll just wait for other council colleagues to
I'm
turn on their
here.
cameras.
Yeah, turn on
All
your
right.
cameras.
Councillor Strachan, Councillor Wilson. And we're just waiting for Councillor Sullivan. We'll just give her a few more minutes. Thank you, Deputy Mayor, for chairing. I was driving, but was listening. So on my hands-free device. So thank you very much. I think we have up next NG Art Challenge. It is 8:15. We had only initially scheduled this until 8:30. Of course, we'll hear all the presentations, but I'm sure, Jane, you will do a fabulous job of keeping it short, because we will definitely have to stick to that 10-minute max timeline. That includes questions. So over to you, Lisa. Thank you. Jane, rather. Apologies, Jane.
Hi, so I'm here again with the North Grenville Art Challenge. This would be our third year, and we've been pretty consistent to every Saturday. So the last 18 months, I think I've only missed 2 Saturdays, but the group has met even though I'm not there. So this is a quick little summary of our group. So the next slide. So that's me. So that's when we started during COVID. Next slide. And so this was before we were given any grant money. When we started, we were at the youth center for a little while, and then we moved to the library. So next slide. So this was day one of last year's art challenge. So everybody got books and cupcakes, and we drew our cupcakes. Next slide. So you can see the development of the group, our process of how we became a tight-knit group just by the table and the amount of people that came. So next slide. So then we had to make U shapes out of our tables because we had so many people showing up. Next slide. And so you can see the diversity of the group in this picture, which is great. We've got fathers and daughters. We've got older gentlemen. We've got teenagers. Next slide. I should call it the drawing square because it's more of a square than a circle. So there's that's pretty much our core group that show up every week. But as you can see, we can get up to, 25 people there happily. Next slide. So that's just sharing some of the projects that we were doing. Next slide. This is another project we were doing, pencil crayons. Next slide. This is an art show that we had. Next slide. We one of our pictures for our group got used for the library's website. Next slide. And then we made it to the social media for the municipality's North Grenville Facebook page. Next slide. We managed to invite 2 guest artists. One was from the States, but the other one, and more importantly, Don Muntz, came to join our group. We did invite a couple of other people, but they weren't able to attend. So hopefully over the next year, we'll be able to expand our guest artists. Next slide. So our big thing was we did an oil painting of the mayor. And there were more people that started than finished because it took us, I think, 2 months to do that. So next slide. So that was the surprise because it was a surprise. So we surprised everybody. Next slide. Community engagement, some of the things we've done over the time period. We were at the IPM, the plow match. Next slide. So that's another project we did for social justice. So we got the kids on the drawing hearts on the sidewalk. Next slide. And that's when we drew the hearts in front of the municipal center. Thank you, Mayor Peckford. Next slide. And we also helped organize the mural for the farmers market. Next slide. So I just wanted you to see how much, how broadly we've sort of touched the community. And so I'm hoping that we can continue getting support from the community fund to keep going. One of the things that was on our list of things to do last year was to do to be able to have a newsletter, which a couple of you are on our newsletter list. So we have 60 people on our newsletter list. So I think we're doing pretty good. So and the library, as far as I know, still wants us to continue. So we're hoping that we can continue supplying art materials and art challenges every week. Thank you.
Thank you. We really appreciate that. Questions, council colleagues? Am I seeing any hands here? I've just lost you, actually. Feel free to speak up. No, I'm not seeing any hands. Okay. Jane, what do you think was the maximum participation? I know it was open every Saturday. Is that right? You could
every
sort of come once
Saturday.
or come.
There were more than one occasion when we had like a good 30 people there.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
That wasn't every week, of course, but that happened potentially half a dozen times.
Great.
But we have a core group of about 25 people who show up regularly.
And if there was one major takeaway from what people get out of the experience of drawing or doing art together in 90 seconds or less, what do you think it is?
I really think that it's the bonding that the group has done. They really want the group to continue. And we've got teenagers that are developing relationships with seniors and vice versa. And they've just found it to become an important part of their life, which is why I keep going, because they want the group to continue going.
Thank you. And do you yourself provide any in-kind contributions? I know you were saying the sourcing of some of those materials is underwritten by the budget, but do you bring any in-kind contributions to the group? Obviously your time and your expertise, I imagine.
Yeah, because I give them, I try to give them a lesson every week. So that's kind of free. And we end up supplying a lot of the materials ourselves.
Okay. So again, that question of in-kind is always helpful. So if you
and I didn't, I did include the fact that the library lets us be there for free, but I did the same thing. I didn't include as much in-kind value that we're providing, because they're covering us under their insurance. All of the group brings materials with them as well, and donates and shares. So I didn't include that.
That's okay. If you want to send a quick follow-up email, then we'll make sure that's captured.
I can do that. Yeah.
Perfect. No problem. Thank you very much for your time. We really appreciate the presentation. And I had the chance, I think, as some of us did, to meet the group, and they were awesome. And it's nice to see older and younger residents too bonding in really positive ways. So thank you. Thanks a lot for your time.
Well, thanks for allowing us to do it so far.
Yeah. Great news. Okay. Thank you, Jane. We're going to move on to the North Grenville. Bye-bye. Take care. North Grenville Community Theatre One Act Festival. Paul, great to see you again on the heels of what I think was a very successful One Act Festival. So over to you. And you just have to go off mute, Paul. Yep, there you go.
Okay. Thank you, Mayor and Deputy Mayor and councillors. I don't know if you know more about what we have done. North Grenville, I'm a member of North Grenville Community Theatre, and North Grenville Theatre is also involved with an organization that's called Eastern Ontario Drama League, that they are there for artistic and for technical improvement to their membership. They have 2 festivals a year, and they always look at their membership, one of the membership groups, to host a festival. And we hosted the One Act Festival and basically 2 weeks ago. I have to say that when I made this application for the community grant program, I was not aware it was for 2024. So that's why there was a kind of a mix-up. So we are asking $2,000 more in kind for the municipal center for the charges of the North Grenville Municipal Center as the theater and the rooms itself. Next slide, please. Okay.
Oh, Paul, you are on mute again. Paul, we cannot hear you.
Okay, next slide, please.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep, I think we're there.
Okay, why provide grant to North Grenville Community Theatre? Well, cultural enrichment. For those who attended on the Friday night, we had 250, probably 260 people to attend the 3 plays of the session. There was almost the same amount on for the Saturday matinee, and we had about 140 to 150 on Saturday night evening. It's professionally adjudicated, and after each session of 3 plays, the adjudicator provides a public adjudication for about 20 minutes, and then does almost an hour of detailed adjudication with the 3 groups who had just performed. This is it's not only interesting, but it's also educational, because people who are in the arts learn from what the adjudication is saying, and what other groups itself, or what they have done, or what they're saying. Student bursaries, the North Grenville Community Theatre does student bursary, so does Eastern Ontario Drama League. We're supposed to have 4 students from North Denver District High School, but at the last minute they didn't show up. But we did have 2 students at the refreshment table who were there for the entire Friday night and entire Saturday, so they helped with their community involvement for their hours at the high school. But 20% of it, so 25% of our North Grenville community is seniors, and as myself, and we always entail or encourage other people to either young or old to become part of North Grenville. I will talk about the tourism afterwards, but it does support when we bring in something like this, especially when we bring in 9 theater groups to actually in this case it was 8, but 8 theater groups to perform. It brings a different quality of arts to the North Grenville itself. Next slide, please. So who came to North Grenville? Well, more than 500 people came. People came up not only from North Grenville, but they came from Ottawa, they came from Perth, they came from Merrickville, they came from as far as Colbert. We had 2 groups that were from, actually one group was from Belleville, and another group was from, 2 groups came from Kingston. So we even one couple that came from Montpelier, Vermont. They contacted me about 2 months before the festival, and they wanted to know more about it, and they came, so they enjoyed it. As I said, theater groups they've come from participating with Merrickville in Canada, Kingston. Many many of the people, we had about 70 people that actually went there to all 3 sessions, all 9 plays itself. Many people would never been to Kentville before, and they were amazed by, first of all, what we had in town, and also they were very impressed by the theater, the community rooms, and the people of North Granville. When I made the formal application to all the theater groups, I said, Kentville is a small town, but we will provide small town friendliness and hospitality, and we did for that. We did for both of them. Another thing is, when people came here, they had to eat. I went out with my wife on Saturday night to a restaurant downtown Kentville, and the place was packed. And most of the people that I saw there were people from out of town, from out of theater groups. And I was told that most restaurants were quite busy on the Saturday, on the Friday, and on the Saturday. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. I'll just go ahead with the next. Okay, there it is. So, Kentville Suites, they have 7 suites. They were sold out by North Grenville Community, by the Eastern Ontario Drama League. That they basically sold out for the 2 nights. The Abbott Road Suites, they had, well, 6, as it shows, it was 6 nights, 6-room nights that were taken. The Thursday, I went there yesterday to the Thursday, and I spoke to the manager, and I said, what's your average people do you have on weekends? He said, well, we usually have about 15 people, 15 rooms. He says, how much did you have on Sunday? He says, we had 29 rooms that booked out on Sunday. So I said, that average? He said, no, that was way above average. So even with the Thursday, the Abbott and the Kentville, you're looking at probably $7,000, $8,000 right there in investment that came into Kentville, just in accommodation. That does not include how much people spent at restaurants, how much they spent on fuel, how much they spent. So a lot of money was brought into Kentville, and not only just the money, but they saw what Kentville looks like and what potential that they know that we're close to Ottawa, we're close to the St. Lawrence. And I feel that it probably in the future, the people, yeah, if they want to move, yeah, well, let's go to Kentville. Next slide, please. And basically, it's just what I mentioned about the different restaurants itself. They were all, I know from what I'm talking to other people, they were all busy on the Friday night and on the Saturday during the lunch and supper. They were busy too. Next slide, please. Now, those figures was done about 2 months ago, and I have to admit they are a bit down. And when you look at snacks and food for visiting theaters, we had something called a green room, and there was constant food, and there was also hospitality for after the adjudications and after the detailed adjudication. We spent approximately close to $1,000 on food and food for the cast and crews and different people who attended the adjudications, in addition to also food for the refreshments. And also, I forgot to add there, we spent basically $2,900 just for the award brunch itself. And that does not count close to $1,000 in complimentary tickets that we gave out. So we're looking at a cost itself, an actual cost. It costs a little, probably over $8,000 and pushing $9,000, and not counting the complimentary tickets. Next slide, please. So just basically, we've been providing, as not our forefathers, basically, they started in the 1930s here in Kentville. It was a group that ran for many years. It was called Play for Fun. And from there, the Play for Fun developed into the St. James Players and from James A Players to North Grenville, to Keppel Players, and then now to North Grenville Community Theatre. So yeah, probably another 10 years and I'll be here for 100 years. So that is my
Okay,
presentation.
thank you. Thanks so much, Paul. I'm just conscious of time. So I'll just go to colleagues. You've made a very comprehensive presentation. So Councillor Strakian and then Deputy Mayor. And maybe why don't you ask your questions one after the other and Paul can answer them in one round. That might help with time. Go ahead, Councillor Strakian.
Okay, thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you very much, Paul, for your presentation. From the photos I saw, I wasn't able to attend the shows, but from the photos I saw, it looked like it was a sellout each night or pretty close to it. So that's pretty impressive. The slide deck here doesn't, I think, lend itself to the full appreciation of the cost. So you're saying it was more like $8,000 or $9,000 for the total costs. And I'm wondering what the revenue was from ticket sales. Do you know how many tickets you sold? And I believe they were $20 each. Is that correct?
That is correct. They were $20 each. We have not come to a final financial. We made money. We're probably looking, and honestly, we're probably looking about. One thing you have to bear in mind, since we're hosting this festival for the Eastern Ontario Drama League, after the first $1,000 of profit, we have to give 30% of it to the Eastern Ontario Drama League. So we probably made a little over $5,000. We'll probably be getting maybe around 3,500 to 4,000 ourselves.
Okay, and then I guess the other question, just for clarification, because it's I'm not sure what the confusion was because I'm confused as to what the ask is. Is this for 2023? Is this you're asking for a retroactive coverage for the facilities or the $2,000, effectively the facilities rental, and not an ask for the next season for 2024? Is that correct?
No, the Eastern Ontario Drama League, the Winnipeg Festival travels. So to whoever wants to host, for example, in 2024, it's done by Studio Theatre Perth. Last year, it was done in Lindsay, Ontario. Prior to the pandemic, it was held in Peterborough. Because of the success of the festival and how all the accolades that we have been receiving, the president of Eastern Ontario Drama League has asked us if we were considered to do it in 2025. I have to say that I won't be the chair on that time. I was told by my wife that under no circumstances I should do this again, because it was a lot of my time that was spent onto this. But it's up to North Grenville Community Theatre if they want to do this in 2025.
So this ask is for 2023 then, to cover off costs?
That is correct.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate
So
that.
I'll go to Deputy Mayor and then we're going to move on. Deputy Mayor, go ahead.
Yeah, quick question. In the detailed application, you list your revenue as $5,000, but from what I understand is in reality, there was about $3,500 that you were able to keep because.
Yeah, again, we haven't done all the final things. I was in touch with our treasurer today, and there's still things that has to be paid and still things are coming in.
I think it would be helpful to council if in the next week you could pull together those final numbers for us, because
yes,
as it stands right now. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks very much. That's it.
So thank you, Paul. We're just going to move on because we still have three to go. But we super appreciate the effort that went into the festival. It was really remarkable. Really high caliber theater. So, and I know how much of it was fueled by volunteers. So, thank you again for the work and for coming to council this evening. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, everybody else.
All right, thank you. So we're going to go to Steve Went from the North Grenville Community Theatre Romance on the Road. Sounds so intriguing. Do we have Steve here?
It's Daryl.
Oh, Daryl. Hi, Daryl. Okay,
Hi.
no problem. Welcome.
Okay, I'm going to go really fast. One, I'm not
No
asking
problem.
for money, obviously. If we could go to the next slide, please. So we have done for 2 previous years a Romance on the Road, which really means a traveling show that we take to churches and community halls so that they can fundraise Usually they sell tickets for $15. They usually get an audience of about 40 or 50. We invented this in the pandemic. We did the first year free, even though we were losing money. The second year we charged $50 or 20% of their take, but not the combination of those two. But we would like to go back to not charging them, because really this is a double leveled kind of volunteer. 15 or 20 people are involved in putting on the show, and each show is going to about 6 venues. We've gone to the St. James Anglican Church twice. We've gone to various places, and we have more people who would like to see shows and would like to extend our season. It's not our season, but our number of performances to about 8. And it's hard to figure out how to price in kind, because we're 2 layers of volunteers, none of whom are getting paid, who are putting their car and their gas and largely buying their props and the little costume little bits out of their own pocket. We have bought a couple of lights over time because these venues need light stands. We need 2 more lights. They cost about $250 each. Once we have the lights, Of course, we need some wiring to go with these. I'm trying to get this through really fast. So the traveling show, they sell the tickets. We give them the show. We have costs for a program, which we absorb. Oh, and a sideways bar. It was so good to see a picture of Hobson's Choice in Parish Hall in the previous presentation. The photo was our last show. So, we are it's a double level volunteer activity, and we have repeat customers who want us to come again. We have some new people who want to be bored, and that means we need to go to 3 weekends of shows, maybe a total of 9 shows. And it's hard to figure out how to fund that without us charging them money. But they weren't keen on us charging them money, because sometimes they had to rent a hall, like in Burritts Rapids, they had to rent a hall. So I applied for $500, really, which covers the cost of lights and some programs and stuff like that. And now I'll just wait for questions.
Well done. Well done. So $500 is your ask at this stage?
It is. Apparently I asked for 1,000, but I asked for 500.
And within the municipality of North Granville, your plan is to once again host these in the hamlets largely, is that correct?
Yeah, I mean, right now, in the past, I mean, we have done some outside of North Granville, to be honest. We've gone to Pierce's Corners, we've gone to Osgood, but we've done it in Burritts Rapids, we've done it at 2 locations in Kempville. We've done 3 shows in Kempville, and 1 in Burritts Rapids and 2 outside the municipality. That's what happened the last 2 times. But we'd really like to do it in Oxford Mills. We'd like to look at other places. We want to actually go and kind of recruit service clubs, because apart from anything else, this is a different group of people seeing plays than the ones who tend to go to see our big productions. These may not be people who go to the theater, but we've got really good feedback on our hour-long shows, which is sort of 3 15-minute comedies that can be in your church basement. In St. James, we actually do it in the church. Last time in the church, we did the story of Paris and the Trojan War with Zeus and Aphrodite and Athena in front of the altar. Nobody seemed to be bothered by that.
Awesome. Wonderful. I'll go to council colleagues for any other questions, colleagues. It's a fairly straightforward ask. In regards to just quickly, Daryl, to wrap up. So on average, the host community association was generating about $750. Is that correct from a production?
Yeah, but that would have been the average, but it varied very wildly from place to place, really depending on how many tickets they had sold. But each time, in the 2 that we've done repeat on, it was more each time, because they got kind of a return clientele the second time around, because they'd really enjoyed it. And we're all ready to go for May, June 2024. We'd just like to not have to charge them at all.
Well, that is very kind, very thoughtful. Thank you. All right, council colleagues, I see no other hands. I think Daryl has presented it well and clearly. So thank you, Daryl. Thanks. Sorry, we had to make you wait until almost 9 o'clock, but
That's fine.
you were very patient, and thank you again for your time and for this wonderful concept. Much appreciated, and for the dedication of all your actors and actresses and production folks.
Thank you.
Okay, take care. All right, we're going to go over to R&J Youth Services. Just before I do, I understand that Big Bang drumming group, I don't think has a representative this evening. Tammy, I think we've confirmed that more or less. So
that's right. There's no one here tonight.
Okay, so then we're going to hear from R&J, and hopefully we'll be done right at 9, so a little bit over time. But thank all of our senior staff for being here, and for council colleagues asking good questions, and of course to R&J, who's our last presenter this evening. So Rachel, if you can keep this under 10, we'd be so appreciative, and then we can ask you a couple questions. Thanks.
Yeah, I'm going to make it really, really fast for you guys.
Awesome.
And I'll skip through a bunch because I don't want you to have to stay here too long. So first off, thanks for having me. Can we just skip right to slide 4? So I was going to do a little bit a brief intro about R&J Youth Services, but I think I'll skip right to right to the meat and potatoes of the ask. So basically what we're looking to do, and it was really hard to articulate this, via a PowerPoint presentation. But we have seen over the past fiscal year, so since April 1st, 2023, we have received a 41% increase in referrals for young people that are struggling with things like inappropriate use of the internet, partner violence, if I can stretch that a little bit. So like boyfriend-girlfriend violence, high school level boyfriend-girlfriend violence, distribution of intimate images. So whether it's the person themselves taking the photo and sending it, or the person who receives it sending it out to other people that it was not intended to. So what we're looking to do is, we've been a part of a lot of conversations lately around the various community safety and well-being plans. And one of the major identified needs was that there's a lack of early intervention, prevention, educational programming available to young people across the counties, not just North Grenville specific, but North Grenville as well. Currently, we are offering our Rebound Choices program, which is a 10-week drugs and alcohol education awareness at North Grenville District High School and St. Mike's. So we're doing all of the grade 7 and 8s at both high schools. But I think that with this dramatic increase, we need to do something for the things that I previously mentioned, the inappropriate use of the internet, distribution of intimate images, the healthy relationships. So what we are looking to do is, in addition to the Rebound Choices program, be able to offer a program on those things. So we currently have the ability to deliver that program either, sort of in workshop style, so like 1 hour. We've been doing a lot of those presentations, around various high schools across the counties. But really, I think this is a bigger issue, and it needs to be delivered in the multi-week form. So currently, like I said, we have the ability. Well, we don't currently have the ability to do that. We need to hire a staff. So the ask is for $17,000, and it's to be able to hire a staff that would be dedicated to North Grenville to address those increases that we're seeing. I mean, we have to get ahead of this before it's an issue and we're seeing these people as adults. I think that's the bottom line. And I think I'm going to stop there. Because I imagine there's some questions, and I don't want to take too much time, because I could probably ramble for a really long time about this. It's an increasing issue that we need to get ahead of before it's too late.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. And maybe just to clarify, so you're already well established with St. Mike's and NG High with that programming for grade 7s and 8s, is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay. And
over the summer as well, we did it at the Kempville Youth Center.
Great. Okay.
So
yeah, go ahead.
We do receive funding to operate the Rebound Choices program, but we do not receive any funding to do anything in addition.
Beyond. Right.
Yeah.
Okay. And so all grade 7s and 8s, or it's eligible for all grade 7 and 8s? Who participates in Rebound?
It's eligible for anybody. Right now, sort of the target area has been grade 7 and 8s. So all of the grade 7 and 8s at North Grenville and St. Mike's will be receiving the Rebound Choices program. My goal, my wish is that they also receive some programming around the things that are mentioned on the slide: bullying, cyberbullying, internet safety, healthy relationships. But it would be in addition to what they're already receiving.
Okay, great. All right, I'm going to recognize Councillor Sullivan. Go ahead.
Thank you very much. And Rachel, thanks for the presentation and the information. When you said grade 7 and 8s receive this, is that optional, or do they all receive it? Sorry.
So the grade 7 and 8s receive the Rebound Choices programming, which is separate from what we're talking about here today, but it is voluntary. You know, we don't tie anyone to a chair and make them listen. But it's encouraged, right? We're doing the entire, like the whole class. It is voluntary, and we do receive consent from parents for them to participate in the group.
Okay, thanks. And so has that been going on for a couple of years?
Yeah, it's been going on for more than 10. Yeah, and it's not
even during the pandemic. You still did it for grade 7 and 8s.
Yeah,
in both high schools in Kempville. What about the French schools?
So no, we have not entered the French schools yet. And it's the program, like the Rebound Choice program, this program as well. I mean, what my goal is to have a designated person for each community, because right now it's kind of first come, first serve. Fortunately for the youth of North Grenville, the staff of the high schools were on the ball, and they got their name in there in time to receive the programming. But like I said, I think it would be helpful if it was something that was just part of sort of the expectation of the grade 7 and 8s, or voluntary, I guess. You know, we're not, like I said, we're not going to force anybody. That's not going to help them learn, but an option for them anyways.
Okay, thanks. And then this program that you're proposing to do additional on covering the things that were on the slide, cyberbullying and relationships and boundary setting, etc. That is something that you would also offer to grade 7 and 8s at both high schools.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be just to 7 and 8s. That's just something that, you know, historically has been established as a high priority age range. But it could be open to the high school, like the 9s through 12s. It's really wherever the need is. I mean, it would be offered most certainly at the youth center for all of the individuals to access through the youth center. And then wherever the high schools see the need. If they see it more grade 11s, then okay, it's for grade 11s. If they see it more 7/8s, then it's 7/8s.
Okay, great. Thank you.
And Rachel, what I'm hearing is that this is sort of a next step of intervention to prevent both victimization and criminality. I'm assuming both are at play here.
Okay.
And might I ask, I know that sometimes North Grenville is regarded as fairly affluent and sort of void of some of these problems. I don't believe my council colleagues think that, but maybe you could describe what you're seeing in North Grenville. I'm sure we're not unique, but why is this the moment for you to approach council around this additional funding?
I think no, North Grenville is not unique. We're seeing this across the counties. And like I said earlier, the referrals are up 41% across the counties of Leeds and Grenville.
And who makes the referrals?
So currently the referrals are coming from police. But I think what we need to do is we need to widen the scope, and we need to start accepting referrals from others as well. So school being one. The schools see your kids more than parents do sometimes, right? They're going to recognize these red flags as well. But you know, in North Grenville specifically, I can give some examples of the different things that we're seeing. But I think that the bottom line is that things are getting serious. Like, for example, a young person with a disability that attends a high school in North Grenville was taped using the bathroom, and it was distributed out to people, and they thought it was funny. And they didn't realize, A, the impacts on the victim, but B, like that's against the law. You can't do that. And these people were just extremely naive, and they thought, these young people were, oh, well, it was just a joke. No, it's not. It's not a joke. It's not funny. Nobody's laughing. And it's very serious. But these things are on the rise. Like the intensity, the seriousness is on the rise. It's not a simple, I don't want to minimize any crimes, but you know, historically we've got a lot of kids vandalizing, right? Spray painting on buildings, which is also not great. But they're taking it to a whole nother level with social media and the use of the internet, and it's scary.
And are you speaking, is most of what you're seeing sexual exploitation, like whether it's video or in person, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Like over 95% of it would be sexual in nature. Yeah.
So when you get these referrals from police agencies, is it that at this point R&J is limited in its capacity to work more intensively with these students?
Yeah.
Okay. So you have the rebound program, which is kind of entrenched.
Yeah.
But beyond that, in terms of some of the more intensive work to help people understand their vulnerability to being victims or perpetrators of crime, am I understanding that you have very limited opportunities?
That's
Is that it?
right. Yeah, we're looking to increase capacity to be able to, like I said, be more preventative and not reactive, proactive instead of reactive. Because currently we're just being reactive, and we're only dealing with the incidents that we learn about, right? I'm sure this happens and it doesn't get reported. So we're just reacting to the situations that we do find out about, or the police are informed about, or the schools are informed about. It's happening, and we're not being informed about it as well.
Gotcha. Okay. So it's also building awareness so that youth understand what the risks may be to being in that situation as a victim or as a
and being aware, because I think also what we experience sometimes is that people don't know that they're victims.
Right.
You know, like this, oh, it was just a joke. We were just joking thing becomes way too normalized, and it's not a joke, and it's very serious, and they need to understand that it's not a joke. And in addition to like dealing with, you know, like that offending type behavior, we need to also educate people on, you know, when you are being victimized.
Right. Okay. I'm just gonna just do one more round before we wrap up. So I see Councillor Sullivan again.
Thank you, Rachel. I just would appreciate if you would clarify, what does RNJ stand for, please?
If I got $1 for every time I was asked that question, I would be able to retire. But RNJ stands for Reverend Norm Johnson, and Reverend Norm Johnson is the person who brought these
Operation Come Home.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Great. Yeah. Okay. Operation Go Home now, right? No, Operation Come Home. It used to be Operation Go Home, but going home wasn't always the best option. So
yeah.
Okay. RNJ, Reverend Norm Johnson. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. And Rachel, maybe I could just ask as we wrap up, are there other communities through grants or through contributions such as this that have equipped you to do some of that additional sort of intervention, early sort of awareness, right, et cetera?
Yeah, so we last year we sort of did on accident, we did kind of a pilot in Leeds County.
Okay.
Just because again their needs were so high, and we had the capacity at that point to be able to do some of this. But I mean, right now we simply don't have the capacity. But we have put in grants to a variety of other communities to be able to do the same things in those communities, because like you mentioned, it's not unique to North Grenville. It's
okay.
Steps on
and
that.
I see, yep, and I see the budget that you've outlined, so appreciate that. And I don't know if you've highlighted other in-kind contributions, if you will, in that budget, but clearly you may be bringing other things to the table that aren't captured in that application. So should you wish to follow up with a quick email, we'll certainly take that into account.
Okay, sure. Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, so colleagues, I don't see any other hands, so are we good to then wrap this one up? I think we are. Okay. So that's excellent. Thank you, Rachel. I know this is really difficult. This is really difficult subject matter. So we really appreciate you highlighting for us some of the real vulnerabilities and complexities to dealing with youth in this day and age. It's much appreciated. It's not easy work that you're doing. So thank you for coming this evening and waiting till the end.
No problem.
Thank you. And we'll likely follow up with a little bit more. In the meantime, colleagues, just to bring our meeting to a close, I don't believe that we have members of the public here this evening apart from our applicants. And I don't believe we have any members of the media. Is that right, Megan, Hillary? I think that's a safe assumption, yeah?
That's correct, yes.
Okay. So then we will go to the close of the meeting. This is a confirmation bylaw to confirm proceedings of council at its regular meeting held on November 14th, 2023 to be adopted and passed. Can I just get a mover and seconder, please?
I'll move it.
Okay. Thank you, Councillor Sullivan. I'll take Councillor Strachan as a seconder. I'll call the question. All in favor? Raising our hands. And then motion to adjourn. Deputy Mayor, Councillor Wilson, move in second, please. We're at 9:02, calling the question on adjournment. All in favor? Good. And we're back at it on Thursday. Thank you to senior staff once again for being here. We appreciate it and we look forward to the next round. Take care. Have a good night.
Thank you.